Hello and welcome in to Addison to 35th podcast, your Chicago baseball authority. My name is Herb Lawrence. You can follow me on Twitter at EcknerWall23. That is ECNERWAL23. That is my last name, 23 for Robin Ventura. Or you can go to herb.lawrence.bsky.social on Blue Sky to follow me there. And if you want to do so, you can go to Instagram. It's just my name, Herb Lawrence, LAWRENCE. The guy to my left is Ryan Herrera. He covers the Cubs on this Addison the 35th podcast. And Ryan is at Ryan_A_Herrera on Twitter, Ryan Herrera.bsky. No, sorry, Ryan-Herrera.bsky.social on
like
Blue
that, yeah.
Sky. And he covers both on podcast and on written form for the Just Baseball Media, who brings you this episode of Addison the 35th. So go and check out Ryan's articles on Just Baseball website. Today we will cover the Cubs Sox weekend series. We have to, I guess, because we're obligated to. I'm kidding. I would love
baseball
to do this
podcast.
Oh my goodness, it's just it's getting endlessly pounded is not fun. I would not recommend it to you guys, but and then we'll talk about maybe our own individual experiences about this rivalry and where it's at right now currently, especially with the White Sox doing so poorly and the Cubs winning their 8th game in a row in this series. We'll talk about each starters of each game for the Cubs and the White Sox of this Crosstown Classic and much more. But first, I want to acknowledge that with this 3-game sweep, the Chicago Cubs have taken over the regular season standings of this Crosstown Classic. All-time regular season record now is 75 wins for the Cubs, 74 wins for the White Sox. So they've taken this over for the first time since 2009 of this series. That's amazing. The White Sox have been dominating the overall for a while, and then this last couple of years when the White Sox have been bad, the Cubs have taken advantage. But I said regular season. If you include the World Series of 1906, where the White Sox won 4-2, the White Sox actually still have a 78 and 77 record, which wouldn't last that long because the White Sox are bad and the Cubs. I was talking to Ryan off the air before we started this thing. The Cubs are just a juggernaut, and then they are a playoff team. They played a lot of playoff caliber teams already, and went toe-to-toe, if not beat them. The Dodgers, they beat in the series. The Padres, they tied in the series, even though they look better than the Padres all throughout the series. They have taken on the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are a good team. I know they didn't do as well versus the Giants, but you know what? They held their own. And this weekend, they're playing a lesser team. They both played the Marlins, who they got 2 out of 3 from, and then the White Sox, and they took advantage of beating the White Sox tail all weekend long. I think 13-3, 7-3, and then 6-2 as the Cubs just dominated this weekend. It's sad to see the state the White Sox are in, but it's really good to see where the Cubs are at. And I know you have a special player that you're thinking about talking about to start this whole episode off, Ryan, because he had a phenomenal weekend and having a phenomenal series and year.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love you wrote in the rundown, Pete Crow strong arming. That's pretty good. But no, I mean, that's who when we preview the series before the series, right? That's a guy that I said, that's been their MVP of the first quarter of the season. A guy that's doing everything well, firing at all cylinders right now. And yeah, the series, he went, 8 for 14, a double, 2 triples, a home run, 8 RBIs, 4 runs, a stolen base, defensive highlights out in the outfield, causing havoc on the bases. And the guy's, I mean, obviously he had a great series, there's no doubt about it. But he's had just a great, last month or so. I was trying to figure out kind of when the switch or when things turned for him. So after the game on April 17th, and I should have written down who that was against, but I don't remember off the top of my head. He was hitting 197, had a 264 on base percentage, a 258 slugging percentage to go for a 521 OPS, and had no home runs. And so that means over his last 30 games, he's hit 12 home runs. He has 12 home runs on the year, which means over his last 30 games, he's hit 12 home runs. That is a surprising, unexpected. we knew he had slugging ability, and like
Mhm.
it was kind of like this guy could get 15 if he could do 15, 20 home runs, in a season paired with the defense and the base running, like that's a super valuable player. He has already hit 12, and we're not even to the end of May. Like he might hit that 15th home run before the month of May ends, right? Like I think he's at like a 41 home run pace or something for the rest of the season. So yeah, I think the best way to put it, you can list off all the numbers, right? Like his 150 WRC plus, tied for 16th in baseball as we record it right now.
Mhm.
He has 14 stolen bases on the year. That's fifth. A 295 ISO. That's isolated power. That's eighth in the majors. All among qualified hitters. A 290 average, which is 34th. The bait was it the Fangraphs base running runs above average or whatever that metric is 2.9, which is sixth in baseball. His defensive rate, like all his defensive metrics and his ratings are at the top of the league. And he's got 909 OPS. That's 14th. But I think the one number that matters right now is, again, like I know there's still some baseball being played tonight, but as we sit here right now, he's been worth, according to Fangraphs, 3.0 WAR on Fangraphs, which is the best in the National League. Aaron Judge is leading the majors by a mile, but PCA is right behind him at 3. That's at I did the math and I didn't write it down, but that's like a 10 WAR pace or something like that for the season. Yeah, he's having a great. This 47 games now into the season, and he's like I said 3 days ago. Like I don't think you can call him a star yet, but like it seems every day he's getting closer and closer to like this guy's a legit star in the major leagues, and it's been kind of insane to see what his last month's been like.
As a White Sox fan, looking from the outside in, he's a very frustrating player if you're playing against him. Like,
Yeah.
there's very little you could do against him. The one caveat that I would hold on to for White Sox fans when they're watching him is like the only thing that he doesn't do well is, the strike zone management as yet. He's only got 9 walks in the year. He's just hitting hitting everything hard, getting on base, stealing bases, scoring runs, making havoc. They've moved him up to the top of the order. Is that mostly because of Ian Happ's absence right now, or
Yeah, yeah.
was that already prompted by him just doing so well?
I mean, I would say that's part of it, but Ian Happ getting hurt, not play. Ian Happ was doing a really good job at the leadoff spot too, and obviously the switch hitting thing like that helps with being able to just plug him into the top of the lineup versus lefties or righties. But yeah, but like PCA I think Dansby might have hit leadoff once last week, but yeah, PCA stepped in there and he's been pretty productive at the leadoff spot.
And so, do you think eventually he'll go back to more of a 4, 5, 6, or he'll just be dropped down to the number 2 and have Cody right behind him after that?
No, I don't think. Well, so I mean, I assume Hap is going to take over the leadoff spot again once he returns, and then obviously Kyle Tucker, Seiya
Kyle, I
Suzuki,
meant
Michael
I
Buck.
said Cody. Sorry about that.
What did you
Kyle
say,
Tucker.
Cody?
I said Cody. My bad.
I knew who you meant. No, it's yeah. So I think that lineup of Hap, Tucker, Suzuki, Bush, like that top four had been doing really well prior to Ian Happ's injury. And then the rest of the lineups kind of look different depending on like Carson Kelly's hit fifth bunch. Dansby was hit. I think he might have been hitting fifth earlier in the year. Maybe he was sixth, but he got moved down in the order a little bit for a while. Um, so I mean, my guess is that once Hap does come back, Pete probably goes back to like the number 7 hole, where he was doing really well and before Hap's injury too. So, but then I mean, you think about it, like I think I don't remember what the numbers were, but like the 7th, 8th, 9th spots in the Cubs order were producing. I think they might have been the most productive 7, 8, 9 spots in baseball, or like among the top ones. So if you're inserting Hap back in the leadoff spot and PCA goes back to like number 7 in the lineup, you're still having. It means you have a pretty productive lineup up and down if you have a guy like that lower in the order.
Yeah, I like him hitting first. I like him getting more at bats if I was a Cub fan. If I'm another team, yeah, I would love for him to hit 7th because that means less times I got to go against him. But yes, it's probably more frustrating for a pitcher too when the top of the lineup's you're going through. Hey man, it's damn tough. 4, 5, 6,
Yep.
man, still rough. And then 7, 8, 9, there's no let up. where you just have to
Yeah.
keep on going through Pete Crow-Armstrong, the Amayas, the Carson Kellys of the world. Now, if you can get a third baseman that can hit, you'll be cooking with gas out there.
Well,
It's
it
asking
sounds
for
like
too much, right?
I mean it sounds like Matt Shaw may be back up sooner rather than later. So maybe that's your answer right there for a third baseman who can hit right there at the bottom of the order. We'll
Yeah,
see.
because he went down to AAA and started hitting the ball over the fence, right? He started like, okay, I can do this. I'm confident down here. Hopefully, that confidence for that young player transitions to the major leagues. That was the thing I was kind of worried about. I think we talked about in our preview of the whole season, Ryan, that
Mhm.
putting all that pressure on that rookie. And that's, I think I said initially, I was like, don't take him out after 30 games or after a month. I brought up the point of Oscar Colas, how they pretty much brought him up in the 2022 season, I believe it was, for the White Sox, the 2023 season,
Mhm.
and he wasn't ready. He he was a foolish, immature player that was striking out a bunch and not doing what he needed to do. And they sent him down to the minors before the month of April ended. And then it pretty much spiraled his whole career. He never really regained any type of level of respect from the organization. Pedro actually absolutely hated him, and he like sent him down again at the end of the year, which is very rare. You get sent down twice in 1 year, and it would both times were kind of
Mhm.
punitive. So I don't want that to happen to Matt Shaw because it seems like a kid with a nice head on his shoulders, and I think they put way too much pressure on him to be the third baseman that they chose over Alex Bregman, because I know some people think that way, but now that the offense is cooking as it is, and he's been cooking down there in the minor leagues, so hopefully for the Cubs and their fans, he can go on and be just a regular rookie third baseman that has solid numbers. Nothing spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, he when he went back down to Iowa, that was a few weeks ago now. The launch angle was low. The his like average exit velo was lower than what it was last season. Like his hard hit rate was lower. Like he wasn't Matt Shaw's a guy, a prospect coming up through the minor leagues was a hitter that hit the ball hard, hit the ball on a line. Had the exit velocities. Like he had legit power threat, not maybe not like 30 plus home runs threat, but like a guy who's going to be driving the ball all over the field. And even when he got back, he wasn't doing that at the big league level. And even when he got back to Iowa, it took him a few games till that stuff started. So that started coming back to him. I think more recently we have seen the launch angle rise, the average exit velocity rise, the hard hit rate is solidly higher than what it was last season at AAA. So yeah, I think like that's kind of the main reason why he got sent down is they want him to get back to being a guy who's not just trying. I think that was the words from Jed Hoyer himself was like we don't want him to just be up there trying to survive at the plate, right? Just make contact with the ball and put the ball in play. Like Matt Shaw's a hitter that doesn't need to be just trying to put the ball in play because everyone knows that he can drive the ball. Like that's the kind of hitter that he is. And I think he's been doing that a lot more recently. He's had a few more home runs lately. So we'll see. Like realistically, if I think Jesse Rogers might have tweeted it out that it might, that he's going to be joining them on the road. It seems like it might even be as early as tomorrow when they're in Miami. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, if you can insert him into that number 8, number 9 hole, and then he's producing in his second stint in the big leagues, like yeah, just overall as we talked about the lineup, like that feels like 1 through 9. There's no let up, and that's the kind of lineup you want to put together when you're trying to force yourself back into the postseason.
Yeah, and they're definitely going to be a team to be reckoned with in this postseason this year. I think there's no doubt about it. They've already lost their best pitcher and their second best pitcher for the year, and their second best pitcher for extended period of time in Justin Steele and Shota Imanaga, and they're still cruising. Nothing's been wrong. Colin Ray stepped up. A lot of other pitchers have stepped up, and we will talk about the Cubs starters for this weekend and also the White Sox starters this weekend a little later. But I wanted to get to the play that I thought epitomized the weekend for both the Cubs and the White Sox. It was early. I was at the game on
Mhm.
Friday, which as you were. I was there as a fan. I think you were covering the game on Friday. Beautiful day, 85 degrees.
Fantastic.
We were in the bleachers, center field, right in front of the uh, historic scoreboard, right there for the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. And in the second inning, after a 7-pitch first inning for Shane Smith, and the White Sox give him a 2-run lead because Miguel Vargas is on one that I haven't seen him as a White Sox fan. He's crushing. And this weekend, he hit 4 home runs, I believe. No, 3 home runs, including one on Sunday. He pretty much provided most of the offense for the White Sox this weekend. But Shane Smith's rolling through the first inning. 7 pitches, gets the top of the order out. Then he comes back. He's kind of struggling in the second inning. He gets an out, and then he gives a chopper to, I think it was Ballesteros, that hits it ball right to Andrew Vaughn, who's in because they're trying to cut off a run. And he throws the ball kind of late, and the runner scores, so it makes it 2-1. So Shane Smith is still out there. He's still runners in first and third. You got only 1 out, and then it's Nico Horner who gets absolutely jammed by a great pitch by Shane Smith. Hits the ball to a drawn-in infield, and Chase Mydroth gets the ball, throws a chest-high pass to catcher Matt Tice. Plenty of time to tag out Carson Kelly, who's coming down third. And while he's transferring the ball from his chest to tag out Carson Kelly in one fell swoop, the ball just falls out of his glove. I just can't, fathom if I were Shane Smith, knowing this team that he's going against is a team that's opportunistic, that will take advantage of mistakes.
Yeah.
Right there, it's 2-2. And you're like, it could have been 2-1. You could have had that momentum that you get out of throwing somebody out at home. A natural momentum, as I think the Cubs got Sunday, where they got Seiya Suzuki throwing out Chase Mydroth in the first inning, trying to score after a double by Chase Mydroth, and then they get him over to third. That was a momentum boost for the Cubs. It was we got off the field. Yeah. Let's go. We're killing these guys in the first. And if you would have did that, tagging out Carson Kelly in the second inning, now it's 2-1, 2 outs. The next batter strikes out. It was John Birdie. So theoretically, if you just follow that timeline, I know space-time continuum doesn't work that way, but give me a little leeway. If you just strike John Birdie up, it's 2-1, second inning. You gave up 1 run, but you got through it. But instead of that, it's only 1 out. You still strike out John Birdie, so you got 2 outs. But then they turn the lineup over, and the guy we just talked about comes up and absolutely murders the ball. I was there, and I was like, at this point, like, I know that first base was occupied. This man is too damn good, and I'm talking about Pete Crow-Armstrong. Absolute rockets, a 3-run home run.
Yeah,
you're devastated, and then after that, you get a Seiya Suzuki double to score another run. 6-2, game is over. Like, that took the wind out of our sails of a Chicago White Sox fan when we started off so good with that Miguel Vargas home run, and like, that's our best starting pitcher out there, giving up those runs. Only one of those runs was earned. So he gave up 6 runs in the box score, but he only gave up 1 earned run because of that error. Opened the door, and this is what I'm talking about. I like the playoff team. Cubs kicked the door in. They didn't just be satisfied with scoring and tying up the game. They kicked the door in and scored 6 runs in that second inning. That's the type of team that they are, and that's the type of team the White Sox have been this year.
Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely like a that's your play of the weekend, and that's definitely one that stuck out to me as far as like, because like even before that, like the Michael Bush, was it Michael Bush that had the swim move, right? The score that first run at home, and then it was the air where I thought it was out. Like I think I saw the umpire like signal safe, and I'm like, how did he beat? Like, he didn't beat that. And then you realize that he dropped the ball, and it's that was crazy. But for me, I think like that's definitely a point where things shifted. But I think the play to me is what you said of Pete Crow-Armstrong's 3-run homer. Like that, you're talking about like a play of the weekend, a tone setter, play that set the tone for the weekend. Like, first of all, we talked about it was the weekend of Pete Crow-Armstrong, the series of Pete Crow-Armstrong, like hitting a 3-run home run. Kind of foreshadows like, oh, this guy he goes on to have a great series, right? But I mean, that made it 5-2, kind of broke the game open. And when it's an offense like the White Sox that's just not super imposing, even with Cade Horton on the mound, right? Like a guy making his first career start, even with that, it's not a super imposing lineup down on the south side. So you go up 3 runs early, you feel pretty good about your chances of beating that team. Just by putting more space in between them. And then, the Kyle Tucker triple into Seiya Suzuki double makes it a 4-run game. And then like you feel like that's a pretty comfortable lead against the White Sox with just the way that their lineup is right now. So yeah, for me, that's that that is the play that broke the game open, gave the Cubs some space, gave Cade Horton some breathing room, and
Hmm.
allowed him to kind of just go out and attack the zone. I mean, Miguel Vargas like had a great series and 2 home runs that game, but like it gave Cade Horton the space to be like, I don't have to be perfect, right?
Hmm.
I can go at these hitters, I can attack the zone, throw strikes. He didn't walk anyone, right? I think the starters only had 2 combined walks the whole weekend, but like for Horton specifically, it gave him that space to just go and not worry about making a mistake over the plate because the offense was giving him so much run support. So, but yeah, that Pete Crow-Armstrong home run to me is the play that's like, okay, this is going to be a big series for this guy, and it ended up being that way.
And let's get to the what you were just alluding to, where the Cubs starters pretty much made the White Sox hitters earn their way onto the bases.
Yeah.
Miguel Vargas, as I just talked about, had 3 home runs this weekend. He was on flame. No one else except for Chase Mindrops really had a weekend on the offensive side for the White Sox to write home about. So what was it? What made these guys who took the bump for the Cubs so special this weekend?
I mean, maybe facing the White Sox helped, honestly. But I mean, yeah, like Cade Horton, um, it's kind of like what I just said that he was just able when he's getting all that run support, he's able to just go out, attack the zone, not worry about making mistakes. Like he made a couple mistakes on the Vargas home runs,
He
but
did.
other than that, like and especially with the wind blowing out as hard as it was to center, like those mistakes can definitely hurt you. But when you're not letting you're not giving the other team free base runners, those mistakes can hurt a little bit less because there's no one else on base, right? I guess Vargas did have a 2-run homer, but like other than that, like his second home run was a solo shot. They didn't really have that much traffic the rest of the game except for maybe one inning against Horton. Um, I mean, Matthew Boyd, we talked about during the preview a couple days ago, like 6 innings, 3 runs, and another quality start for him. And he's been doing it against the White Sox, but he did it against like the Mets. He did well against the Padres. Like he has faced a lot of teams at the top of the major leagues, or at least record wise at the top of the major leagues, and he's been doing a really good job. And he also didn't walk a guy. Like when you are facing a team again, a team like the White Sox, like if it's the Mets, if it's the Yankees or whoever it is, that might be a different story. But you're not facing an imposing lineup in the White Sox. So you can afford to just kind of, attack the zone, throw strikes, make them earn it. And they did a good job of what he gave. He only gave up 4 hits. So the White Sox had 4 base runs. I don't know if he maybe hit a batter or something, but they only got 4 hits against Matthew Boyd that whole time. I think 2 of them were home runs, but same thing, right? You didn't give him a bunch of free base runners. You didn't have a lot of traffic on the bases. So when those home runs were hit, like I think both were solo shots, if I'm not mistaken, against Boyd, and then
Yeah,
Ray
my
today
drop.
too.
Yeah, to start the game. My drop was a solo home run, and then it was Elko. Yeah,
Yeah, so both solo shots, and then Ray today, like he had 2 walks, but managed to minimize the damage. Only gave up 4 more hits. Had 3 strikeouts and 5 1/3. So that's the big part of it. And you mentioned how like Justin Steele's done for the year. Shohei Imanaga is still probably going to be out another couple weeks at least. Like these are guys that weren't huge swings in free agency. Well, obviously not Cade Horton. Cade Horton was kind of a big swing as far as the draft goes, but like Matthew Boyd and Colin Ray weren't super huge swings in free agency as far as starting pitchers go. But they were necessary. They were good depth pieces. I think at the time you could say like these are good depth pitchers and for the rotation. And hopefully you don't need them, right? Or like at least in Colin Ray's case, because Matthew Boyd was going to be in the opening day rotation. But like hopefully you hoped you didn't need Ray to start any games, right? You had perfect health and really good production from the rotation. That's not
hmm
how baseball goes. So a guy like Colin Ray's had to step in, and he stepped up. Matthew Boyd, maybe with those guys out, is just his starts a little more magnified. He's a little more under the magnifying glass, being one of the 2 or 3 healthy starters that they had, or opening day rotation guys, right? Is it 2 or 3, whatever it is? I'm kind of forgetting who's in the rotation right now with all the injuries, but like he's kind of his starts or just his performance has come under the magnifying glass a little bit more. But he's stepped up in his pitch really well and has been basically their best pitcher this season. So, and then Cade Horton came up and like it wasn't like the start itself wasn't like he put up these great numbers, dominated the White Sox or anything like that. Like it was a solid enough start. and it got the job done, especially when you consider the run support that he got. But it's his first start, second appearance in the major leagues. No matter what, like the White Sox have big league hitters in their lineup. Like that's the truth. Just as every team has big league hitters in their lineup. So no matter what, like you got to be really good at this level to have success. And Cade Horton was good enough to go out and get another win on Friday. So yeah, I think that's when you're talking about the starting pitching for the Cubs with the injuries, within the context of the injuries that they've had, like guys like Matthew Boyd, Colin Ray, and now Cade Horton, they're stepping up and getting the job done.
And it's a good thing. I know you kind of couched their success on the White Sox being bad, but they have to go out there and execute the pitches. They have to go out there and believe that their stuff is good and don't worry about the team that's hitting against them. They could have walked a bunch of people if they wanted to, but they went and executed their pitches as they were supposed to. The White Sox have opened it up versus a couple teams this year. Yeah, their offense isn't that good, but sometimes they do get into the double digits. And so, to hold them to 3-3-2 for the weekend, that's pretty good for run support. And I think that Cubs should get some credit for what they're doing. Tommy Hotovy and the pitching staff should be getting some major credit, as you're talking about. I didn't think Matthew Boyd was going to be anything. Colin Ray has been in the league forever, and he's been solid, but he hasn't been this solid, as good as he has been when he came up. And I was very impressed what I saw from Cade Horton. That man's got some giddy up to his pitches. So I think he just needs to pitch more to understand what's going on and not hang sliders in the middle of the zone. Yeah. And Miguel Vargas will take them deep.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like he's got good velocity. I think he's a little over 95 miles per hour on the fastball. He's got a really good sweeper, and if he can keep improving on the throwing that strike to ball, right, you're going to get a lot more swings and misses, a little more chase. The fastball is good enough. The changeup is still kind of a work in progress. He's got the curveball in there, so like he's got a decent repertoire. And like you said, like it's just kind of about continuing to pitch at this level, getting better at those, the like I said, the strike to ball, getting more whiffs, a little more strikeout potential. But he's got the tools to be a really good pitcher, it looks like. And maybe not an ace, but maybe an ace, right? Like you don't know that until he goes out and does it. But he's got the stuff, he's got the repertoire, and he's got the potential to be a really good pitcher. So like I said, it wasn't like the super dominating start on Friday, but it was good to see him have a good day in his first major league start.
For the White Sox, it was a little bit different. None of the pitchers got into the sixth inning and completed the sixth inning. We had Shane Smith that we just talked about. It's a 5 innings pitch, gave up 6 runs. Only one of them were earned. He struck out 5 with only walking one player. The guy the next day, Sean Burke, has had a mercurial year. First start of the year, he was the opening day starter for the White Sox. Brilliant. Ever since then, for the most part, except for the 2 starts previous to this one, he's been pretty mediocre to bad, and that didn't change on Saturday versus the Cubs. 4 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 runs earned, and 4 Ks with 5 walks. The White Sox that day walked 11 Cubs, so it was a really bad day for the pitching staff, mostly done by Mike Vassell and Sean Burke. But on Sunday, I thought it was an improved start. I thought he came out a little bit more focused, and Jonathan Cannon has been pretty solid for most of this, last 5 starts. He gives you only 5 innings, giving up 3 earned runs, striking out 3 guys without any walks. Like, I like the fact that they don't give up a lot of runs, but the fact that they don't go deeper into games, especially this weekend with the Cubs, they were bludgeoning them. Like, Shane Smith gave up 6 runs that day, but only 1 was earned. His stuff was still premium. You can ask Cub batters how they looked at him, because after that, he didn't give up anything to the Cubs batters, forcing fastball still on that game. And the 2 runs he did give up before that 3-run home run to Pete Crow-Armstrong were choppers in people's kitchens. So I'm very encouraged. He actually lowered his ERA to 2.08 now after that start because of only 1 earned run. He is our all-star this year. I am very surprised in his success. I am glad that he is on our team. I don't want him to be traded anywhere. I want him on this team. As I know, White Sox say anything can go, but this guy seems like a keeper, a thing that you found on the Rule 5 draft waiver wire, and now you're come up gold, and it's good for Chris Getz to have some wins because he's had a lot of losses, both figuratively and literally this year and last year with the Chicago White Sox. So it's good to have a pitcher that's doing so well on the team that is doing so poorly. And as I tweeted out and I said before the series started, the White Sox have the exact same record as they did in 2024 through 47 games, 14 wins and 33 losses.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's tough to kind of sit through that 2 years in a row for sure. I don't feel for you on that one. But yeah, there are good people like Miguel Vargas was they got from the Kopech trade, right?
He did.
Like I remember Sox Twitter not being too happy about that. And I'm not going to say I've followed Miguel Vargas's last year or however whenever that trade went down very closely. But like he had a really good weekend too. Like he was arguably the second or third best hitter on either team over the weekend. So like it seems like is he becoming that piece that they were acquiring when they did that? Is he going to be a good piece for whenever the Sox potentially get back to actually contending? Shane Smith, like we said, like he got screwed with the air, right? Like you mentioned, it 6 runs, only 1 earned. Like should have been out of that inning, wasn't, and then the Cubs took advantage of the mistakes. But he looks pretty good even in only 5 innings. And again, like we talked about on our last episode, like that's a major win for Chris Getz when you're talking about, he's a Rule 5 draft pick.
Yep.
He's a Rule 5 pick. That those are the guys that the Rule 5 draft pick is guys that get underlooked and are undervalued by the organizations, right? Or in a sense, the guys that are taken in the Rule 5 pick are just guys that weren't really given the shot in so many years, or maybe took a while to kind of get there. And usually the Brewers are the ones that are getting those scouting and development wins. But right now it's the White Sox doing it with Shane Smith. So I thought he looked good, and that's another good piece for the Sox for as they try to get themselves out of this deep hole of a rebuild that they've built themselves into.
Yeah, with the Miguel Vargas contract situation, he has 4.5 years left before he is a free agent. So right now he's in his second year of service time. Next year will be his last before arbitration, and then 3 arbitration years. So I jokingly said, I heard the Cubs need a third baseman, and people went off on me. I think he's here to stay because he's young, 25 years old, and now he's starting to become the guy that they traded for. Out of that trade, it was Eric Fetty, Tommy Pham, and Michael Kopech. 2 of them went to St. Louis. The other one went to L.A. The White Sox got back Miguel Vargas and then 2 young players. Albertus is one of them who's been hurt most of the time that the White Sox have acquired, and then Jarrell Perez, who's doing some work down there in AAA right now. So the trade hasn't looked favorable initially, and I looked on it and I poo-pooed it. But if Miguel Vargas can be the guy that he was in the minor leagues, he was to me, when they traded for him, he was a classic 4A guy, killing down in Oklahoma City, come up to the Dodgers, hit under 200, like for years on end. And finally, last year when he got traded to the White Sox, people made the excuse, he's very sad from going from the best team to the worst team. And you could see it on his face. Yeah, I can, give him that excuse from last year. He started this year with this White Sox playing pretty much the same way. Then if you're watching on the Chicago Sports Network broadcast, they just did a little hand adjustment for Miguel Vargas. And ever since then, he's been teeing the ball off. And this whole weekend, as you were talking about, even his outs were loud. He was barreling things up. And it's good to see. If that guy's going to be that guy, I'm in. But he hadn't shown that until about a month ago. And so now, if he is this guy, he might have some competition. He might be giving Shane Smith some competition for all-star representative for the White Sox, because he, looking like this, is playing some great baseball on third base, and he's hitting the ball rock hard. What is going on the rest of the week with the Cubs? We have the Cubs going on the road to Miami. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So the Miami Marlins versus the Chicago Cubs, they just played a series. Cubs won 2 out of 3, but now Cubs have to see their nemesis, Kyle Stowers. How are you guys going to get Kyle Stowers out this week?
Has anyone figured that out? Right? Like, I don't think anyone across the league has figured out Kyle Stowers. Man. Like, he's been hitting the cover off the ball for the Marlins, and like kind of in the similar spot to the White Sox, where like you're looking for young guys, young pieces who can help you as you try to get out of a rebuild and into actually contending, like Kyle Stowers has been that guy for the Marlins right now. At least this season. It's kind of like I didn't know the name Kyle Stowers. I think honestly, I think I was I don't remember like which guy I had on my team. Oh, it was it might have been the Royals or something a couple weeks ago, and I'm at the gym watching this game because I have Carlos Estevez on my fantasy team, and I'm like, no, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I'm like, I have someone on my fantasy team. I need them to not blow this game, and then Kyle Stowers hits a walk off home run that our guy Jack McMullen was able to call on the radio, but like. I hadn't heard of Kyle Stowers until that happened, and I feel like every single time I see the name Kyle Stowers, it's because he's homered. So, yeah, he's going to be a tough one to figure out for the Cubs.
And this weekend or this week, the White Sox take in the Seattle Mariners. Oh no, because as people know, I'm a secondary Padres fan, and they went out there and dominated the Fathers. They swept them for the Eddie Vedder Cup. So I don't know if you know this, Ryan. I know that Eddie Vedder is a Cub fan, born here in Chicago area, but he spent most of his formative years in San Diego, and then moved to Seattle to, of course, make with Pearl Jam. So those two teams, the Mariners and the Padres, fight for the Vedder Cup. Now it's actually official called the Vedder Cup, where Eddie Vedder designed the trophy that the winner gets. And I think after winning the 3 games, and they have 3 more left, they do clinch the Vedder Cup up there in Seattle. Now they're going to be riding high off the Vedder Cup coming into Chicago with that great pitching staff and my guy Julio Rodriguez. God damn it. So the losing might continue. That's what I'm saying, because the Mariners might be up there with the Cubs as far as a team that could do some damage in the playoffs, especially with their pitching staff. Amazing team out there. And now that they're hitting the ball, Randy Arozarena, mercy. It's just so much good stuff out there in Seattle. Anything left from this weekend that you wanted to highlight about the Cubs Sox Crosstown series?
Well, I did just want to highlight, we were talking about Miguel Vargas. I hadn't realized how he's been hitting a lot better for a while now. It's been about a month. You said it's been about a month. Like April 19th, he was hitting 139 with it was a 427 OPS. And now he's up to 245 with it looks like 750 OPS. It's been a pretty good last month for him. So hey, if you need good things to try to find, if you're a White Sox fan, like Miguel Vargas has been pretty good for a few weeks now.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to highlight on Saturday, I was here at home, just turned the game on, and I see Chase Mydroth hit his first major league home run, I think off of Matthew Boyd, and amazing. Like, this guy's not known for his power, but it was good to see him just barrel up that ball. On the year, he's now hitting 284, on base 370 with a 358 slugging for 728 OPS. He's doing well for a rookie. I've that other play I was just talking about where Matt Tice drops the ball. He delivered the strike that needed to be right in the middle of his chest. So it was perfectly executed. He's doing things by the book, and that's what he is. He's not a flashy player. He's not a player that's going to hit all these home runs or extra base hits, but he's going to do everything above average. Yeah. His hitting above average, his glove above average, his baseball presence and IQ above average. And I think that's what the Kansas City Royals, when they won in 2015, had. Just no real stars, people who are better than others, but no one who was a negative player. That's the type of player you need to repeat on your team, where you can't fill in like a superstar. And Chase Mydroth, if and when the White Sox become a good contending team, and I hope that's 2-3 years away or earlier than that, he will be a presence, and he will be one of the people you look to and say, that guy, he sets the tone for this team. The old Tim Anderson and the old Dexter Fowler, when you go, we go type of thing. And I think that's the player that you follow into a tough battle versus a tough lefty. He'll give you a good at bat. He'll let you see every pitch. And he is a guy who's patient enough to take that close strike and see if he can get a ball and coax it, because he has a good eye. And I think umpires sometimes give you a little leeway if you have a good eye, especially on a 2-strike pitch. So I think that what he does for a team goes unspoken, because you look at the stats, you're like, what's this? But you watch every game, you're impressed every single day, and you realize that he's only a rookie. and things are going to get much better for him. So
Yeah.
I'm very impressed by the early season stuff that I've gotten from Chase Mydroff.
Yeah, well, I was covering the Red Sox when they were in town. Was that 3 weeks ago or so when they were on the
Hmm.
South Side? And because it was the crochet trade, Mydroth, right?
Hmm.
They got him back in that crochet trade.
Correct.
And Cora was like singing Mydroth's praises, like especially considering a guy that like I I would he made his debut this year, right?
Correct.
Mydroth. So
Hmm.
like he never played for Alex Cora outside of like spring training stuff.
Hmm.
Cora was like, "You guys are gonna love, like Sox fans are gonna love this kid." Like singing his praises, and I'm like, okay, then that means Chase Meyerdorf is probably a name you want to keep in your head as far as like what are the White Sox doing? What are, like who are the young guys that they have? Is Chase Meyerdorf going to be one of those young guys to help lead him out of this? And it seems like so far he's at least going down that path where he's been doing pretty well. I know he got a lot of crap for the fly ball that hit his head, but the pop up. But other than that, it seems like he's had a pretty good season. So
Yeah,
um,
and when you think about that trade too, it's like Mydroff was the third guy in that trade. Number one and number two are
yeah,
interchangeable with Kyle Teal and Braden Montgomery. Then you got the fourth guy in Wickelman Gonzalez, a pitcher who's still in the minor leagues. And then Mydroff, everybody's like, yeah, he's probably the most MLB ready. But they were like, he's good, he's fine. He hit well and got on base well at the Paw Sox. His Paw Sox, whatever, good, fine. He'll be an all right Major League Baseball player. And for the White Sox, we need a bunch of all right Major League Baseball players first before we start getting to the superstars. So we need a nice floor, and Chase Mydroff is the perfect floor for a championship team. And so in the future, when the White Sox get back to that level, you'll be looking at that guy.
yeah. As far as anything else from the weekend, the first is like Seiya Suzuki, that throw from left field.
Mm,
Like that's an outfield assist right on the button, basically leads the catcher's glove right to where the batter's or the runner's going to be sliding without needing to bounce the ball. Like that's one of the best sights in baseball, no matter who's doing it. Right, that kind of outfield assist, beautiful. It's also nice to see a little bit of tension between the two teams. Like I feel like that's been missing for a while. But like,
yeah.
was Vargas, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Vargas after Keller hit him,
Mm-hmm.
he took big issue with it, and then I guess they were like, or he was yelling at him as they were walking off the field or whatever. I'm like, I, I don't know what exactly that was about. It didn't seem like it was a purposeful plunking of Vargas, but it was nice to see a little bit of fire between the two teams again for a second.
Yeah, and Scott Merkin caught up with him later on and asked him what exactly he was saying to Brad Keller. And if you're a White Sox fan, you know Brad Keller. He's the enemy number one. We don't like him. He's the guy who hit Tim Anderson after the famous bat tossing.
Yeah,
Miguel Vargas, on his discussion with Brad Keller after the top of the eighth, when he took umbrage of being hit by a pitch, Miguel Vargas said, quote, I just wanted to know what was his favorite restaurant. I just asked him about it, end quote. Just a nice, fun, lighthearted of a thing that was a little contentious when
yeah,
when we saw the pictures and such, and also third base umpire talking roughly to Justin Jersley, who's the White Sox third base
yeah,
coach. Is like, what are we doing? Like, it's just what is going on right there. I forgot the managers or the umpire's name, but yeah, some sandpaper, and that's also what I was going to ask. Like, what do you think the rivalry's at? Like, I am kind of apathetic right now
hmm
because the White Sox are so bad. But I was hyped when I went into the game. I wasn't expecting the White Sox to compete this weekend because I know the level of where the Cubs are and where the White Sox are. But I was hoping, maybe it gets ramped up. But I didn't
yeah,
feel that these players feel that way. And maybe they can't feel that way. And maybe they can't get to that level as a White Sox player because they are just not as good as the other team. I felt the Cubs players were into it. They were
yeah.
doing well. I don't watch that many Cubs games, but they felt like this is the rivalry and we're better and we're showing you guys we're much better. Celebrating, Nico Horner cheering, having a great time. Like maybe that's just how they play every day, but it looked like they're having fun at the expense of the White Sox because they're like, this is still a rivalry and y'all ain't close to us.
Yeah, I mean that's like you said, you were there on Friday. Like these games, there's 40,000 plus every one of these three games. Like the fans get up for the environment, whether it's at Wrigley or on the South Side. Like the environment's great for these games, and no matter where each team is at as far as rebuilding or contention, like these games are always, the environment's always fun. The baseball might not always be great, but the atmosphere is great. And so I was there Friday as well, and it was a fun atmosphere. And then if you're a Cubs fan, obviously it was a really fun time. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's like the floor, right? Is like, at least you could say the environment's really fun, and the fans are creating a great environment. But I would like to get this to a point where both teams are actually good, and so it means more because you have two good teams trying to beat each other.
Yeah, to me too. It's sad that it's never really culminated for multiple years where they're both good, fighting for something in their individual ranks while also being very mad at each other. But hopefully that Miguel Vargas Brad Keller thing sparks up something, because it definitely sparked up White Sox Twitter, because we already do hate Brad Keller. So that's the only thing we can hope for, is that the White Sox remember this and their July, I think, matchup on the South Side that's coming up for them, and the last chance for the White Sox to have any type of fun this season, because it seems like most of these games will be meaningless unless you're watching a handful of players like Chase Mydroff, like Miguel Vargas, like Tim Elko, who hit a home run on Saturday too. So it's good to him hit his second home run of the Major League season, like Edgar Caro. So that is Ryan Herrera. You can follow him on Twitter, Ryan_A_Herrera, or on Blue Sky, Ryan-Herrera.bsky.social. Or you can follow me, Herb Lawrence. You can do both. Actonwall23 on Twitter, or herb.lawrence.bsky at social, or .social at there at Blue Sky. We are also reachable via email. I don't know if you knew this, Ryan, but we do have an email where it's Addison 235th. So Addison 235th at gmail.com. Okay. Send us an email, whatever you want to say, to Ryan or myself, or to both of us. Send it to Addison 235th at gmail.com. We will both have shows individually of each other in the next week. So for Ryan Herrera, my name is Herb Lawrence. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Addison to 35th podcast.